Let me know when you're ready.
Thank you, Daddy.
All right, I have your blessings.
If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough,
government is another way to say better than you.
In fact, you know how fast a 5-cent hooker goes down.
no sane country would do that.
Cruz and Kasich are in it for a participation trophy.
Oh, what you represent to them is freedom.
Hosted by the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash.
Just remember, all hate mail comes to me.
The Southside Mutt Show.
Cheerleader. I don't have the boots for it.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show. And welcome to the Southside Mutt Show, hosted by the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, and we are digging up the dirt on the news. The Southside Mutt Show is every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember to go to the live chat. Just go to shrmedia.com and click on the chat room button. Also, if you want some kick-ass T-shirts, just go to Reaver.one and click on the shop button. We got some really great T-shirts. Check them out. And yes, I know I suck as a salesman, so don't even say it, Crash. I did everything good up until that point, and when I went, bombed it. I don't know if we're going to have anything to talk about today. I mean, there's nothing in the news. Is there?
The only thing that I can think of is hashtag not my Super Bowl. I disagree with the results of the playoff games. So I think we should all, just, I don't know, go to a city somewhere and just start rioting. And
Cowboys won. Cowboys scored more points throughout the year, and they should be the Super Bowl champs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's
actually, you know what? And I didn't get to run this since we kind of, with that little joke, it actually just kind of kicked something off in my head.
Oh, Lord, help us.
I wanted to run this by you earlier before the show, but I didn't get a chance. So I'm not sure of the validity. It does sound like something that would happen. However, I don't know if this is actually valid or if it was somebody just doing a spoof thing. Okay, so I'm going to start off right away with that. But I could see it happening. There was a post put up on social media this afternoon from one of these anarchist, groups. One of these groups that's, they're all about communism and socialism and
all the isms,
all this type of stuff. Yeah, land blasting. The people that are funding the riots. Okay. Now, we already know, it's been proven
George Soros
numerous times that the Ferguson riots and the Baltimore riots, those people were paid. They were paid to riot. It was continued through the presidential nominations. It was continued through the primaries and the presidential election. There are paid agitators. Okay, it's been well documented.
Yes.
Now, evidently, one of these threw a hissy on Twitter and called everybody out on how much bullshit this is. We use the same tactics in D.C. that we've used in other cities, the same tactics that our brethren have used over, in Europe. We go in, we do what we're going to do, and that's the end of it. The worst she gets is a slap on the wrist. But now a bunch of us, including me, we were arrested, we had to post bail, and now we have to go to court. And we're facing
federal charges,
$1,000 fines,
federal rioting charges.
Jail. This isn't fair. This isn't fair. We should not be the ones going to jail. You should be the ones going to jail because you were the ones that did this. If nothing else, this is just. I was just doing my job. I was just doing. It was just like I was like, okay, I can see this being a spoof piece.
No.
But I'm sorry. It also makes I can also see the snowflakes actually posting something like this because it really is a reality. I mean, this is the first time they pulled one of their stunts, and law enforcement did not bend over. They didn't take it. They said, you know what?
Well, it's not the law
DOJ
enforcement isn't taking it. It's a different administration, and we got law back in order. And yes, those rioters that were in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration that got arrested.
They were protected. They were protected up until Friday. They were protected by, what's that?
At noontime.
Okay. All right. Up until Friday at high noon, they were protected by the previous Department of Justice administration. And they did not go after any of this. They labeled all of the stuff as peaceful protesting. Oh, yes, you burned down half the city. But at least you did it peacefully. All these families lost their livelihoods. But it was peacefully taken from them. Well, they pulled the same antics, new administration, new Department of Justice, and like we said last week, not all local cops either. And a completely different breed of law enforcement, Secret Service. They don't, I'm not saying they're perfect, but they don't put up with a whole lot of shit. And you know what? They did their fucking jobs. They squelched as much as they could. There was still a lot of crap that people are not going to be answering for. I mean, how many personal attacks were there? How many assaults? And the people were not caught because they did, they beat somebody up and they took off running. And it was, I mean, in spite of the fact that there was almost no turnout for the inauguration, according to the left, nobody was there. There was a lot of people that got beat up and rioted and protested. But remember, there was nobody there.
Yeah,
I got it. They were ghost rioters.
Yes, that's what it was.
They were probably all carrying ghost guns too. What do you want to bet? They were damn ghost guns.
But yes, if you're being serious about the question, yes, there's federal rioting charges that are being prosecuted under.
Yeah, no, that part I did know that was serious, but I was referencing the fact that one of these guys went on a rant about how we were just doing what we were doing what we were paid to do. I don't know if that.
And a couple of them that were caught on video talked about how they just came from the Dakota causing issues, and now they were there in Washington, D.C. to cause, and they didn't even know what was going on, and they admitted it. Now, there's been news that came out that the leaders and multiple people in that Disrupt J20, because of the videos, they showed up in Washington, D.C., and they were arrested immediately, and they are being charged from those videos.
Good.
Yeah, it's about time that these people be held to the standard of the law, and that's why one of the things that we were going to bring up, the executive orders that's allowing our agencies to enforce the laws.
Yeah, not
on immigration.
And that's the thing that actually I was noticing some of that with the immigration thing, and then I even started noticing offshoots of that on both sides. They're saying that he's just doing the same thing Obama did. He's coming up with his own stuff. He's making up laws. No, he's not. Fact of the matter is, for 8 years, for almost a decade, just shy of a decade, the laws haven't been getting enforced. He used his pen and his phone and wrote his own interpretation of what law enforcement should do.
Yep.
And law enforcement bowed down. Instead of enforcing the actual laws of the land, they bowed down to a dictatorship president. And this one, you know what? You want to call him a dictatorship? Fine. If he's dictating that we will follow the current laws that were voted on by an elected party, if he's dictating that we will follow the existing laws, I don't see any freaking problem with that, because last I checked, you and I have to follow the laws, right?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, regardless of who is the president, we have to follow the laws. So why should anybody else get a special privilege?
There was on Fox News, there was a discussion they had, a woman that her son was killed. I think it was her son. Her child, we'll put it that way so I don't give misinformation, was killed by an illegal immigrant. And they had an illegal immigrant on. And she's talking about, They need to follow the law. That's all they're asking for, yada, yada, going on about that. And then the legal immigrant says, well, it's a gray area.
It's a what?
It's a gray area. He was brought here as a child by his parents. It's not black and white. He's not a criminal. He pays all this money into Social Security. And then admitted that his grandfather, bought fake Social Security numbers.
Okay. Now
the cops should be going into that studio right there and arresting the man for falsified federal documents. But he's saying that there's this gray area. The mother turns around and says, you don't know what pain is until you lose your child. There is no gray. It's the law. And that's all. Okay.
Now, you might get pissed at me about this, and some of our listeners may as well. But I'm going to say it anyway. I can see both sides of this argument to an extent. To an extent now. Okay. Number one, if you were an infant and brought over here, the only thing you ever would have known in your entire life was living here, why would you have ever even questioned that you were not a citizen? It wouldn't even enter your mind. So yes, I do know that ignorance of the law is not an excuse. However, I could see that not being, I wouldn't call it a gray area, but I would call it an extenuating circumstance that deserves to be reviewed. It's not a free pass, but you know what? That case should get looked at differently because it does have a different set of circumstances. Now, if you were brought over as a child and you knew what was going on, now, yes, you were still legally a child, so your actions are, it's been well documented with the gangs. I mean, they'd love to recruit children because they got lower penalties. But you may not know fully, but you knew somewhat, regardless of the fact. When you became a legal adult, it would have then been your responsibility, if you were made aware that this was wrong, it would be your responsibility. You want to make it right? You don't stay on that side of the fence. You come forward, you cross over, and if you truly want to be a citizen, you go through the process. You apply. And yes, there should be something looked at. Okay, you didn't have a choice when you were 5. You didn't know because you were 6 months old. Okay, those cases, yes, they should be looked at differently than the 55-year-old and the 42-year-old that just crossed over the river last week. Now, this is where that's where I kind of do side with him, that it should be looked at a little bit differently. However, he completely blew his entire case with one statement, and this is where I do not agree with him. He admits that his grandfather, I pay my taxes, I pay my taxes, I pay my taxes, I pay my Social Security. Yes, I do know that my grandfather stole those Social Security numbers. Okay, well, now you just admitted to using falsified information. You admitted to lying on federal documents because you had to sign your tax returns every single year. So you admitted to falsifying federal documents, which you're an adult, you know better. Using stolen property, you're an adult, you know better. You should absolutely be held accountable for that. When you became an adult and you knew better, you should have done something about it. You chose to not do it. That's no different than you know what, Jersey, you show up at my house with a brand new Porsche Carrera. Hey, look at my new car. You want to take it for a ride?
You're gonna be wondering where the hell I got it from.
Well, I just beat the hell out of some asshole in Atlantic City for calling me a redneck, and I stole it. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, let's go for a ride. I get pulled over by a cop for driving a stolen vehicle. Well, I wasn't the one who stole it. Well, do you know who did? Well, yeah, my buddy Jersey Joe stole it. He stole it. He told me he stole it, but I didn't steal it. But he gave it to me as a gift for my birthday. So it's okay because it was given to me as a gift, even though he stole it initially. That's called receiving stolen property. Mm-hmm. You're an accomplice. You're an accomplice after the fact. Again, laws. So, like I said, do I slightly agree with some of his statement? Yes, I do. If you're brought over as a child, yes, I do agree that it should possibly be looked at differently. However, I'm not going to buy into that whole he was 16 years old crap.
Well, on the other hand,
Sorry,
Trump has said from the start he's going to start with the criminal element, the felons that have been released, and work their way. And when it gets to the dreamers and so forth, then it's going to be looked at, but it's not going to be a blanket. Here you go.
Obama, and now see, that's the thing, is everybody was going on this whole dreamer thing, and the displaced kids and the refugees and all the rest of this. Well, hey, guess what? This country, Republican and Democrat alike, both types of administrations, we have had policies for children of other countries that were refugees, for hardship cases to come over to seek asylum, to gain residency, permanent residency, legal residency. Those systems have always been there. They are not creations of Obama. What Obama did was he turned around and essentially said, well, I'm going to throw a blanket out for anybody and everybody, their entire extended family, and we're not going to check up on anything. That was incorrect. That was fucking wrong.
All right.
Trump is simply undoing that.
Yeah, he's enforcing the laws that are there.
For your crimes.
He's enforcing the laws that are there. He's not creating new laws. He's not ignoring. I mean, the job of the president is to enforce the laws that Congress passes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Obama failed big time. There is presidential discretionary
for certain things. I mean, if there is a law that is very ambiguous in how it's being applied in a situation, he can issue an executive order stating that the intent of this should be this. He can provide guidance.
Oh, that's what the Supreme Court really is for.
Still, but this whole, he wrote it, so it's the gospel according to Obama.
Yeah,
it's just freaking ridiculous.
So, we're going to jump it around a little bit because we got a lot to go over. We got a lot to go over in only less than an hour.
We could this topic for over 2 hours.
Well, we're going to veer it slightly off the immigration, and this is where the Republicans have said for years that, okay, if the Democrats don't like the immigration laws, let's get our border secured, we'll deal with the illegals that we have here, and we'll deal with the immigration law.
Yeah, we'll revisit it.
And Democrats say, no, we need to do it the opposite way, which then the argument, nothing gets done. Well, Trump has signed the paperwork. We're starting the wall, baby. We're building a wall. I love it. And everybody, he has to get congressional approval. Not exactly. Not exactly, because I think it was 2006. There was money, and Congress approved, a wall on the border. Just never, parts of it were only built, not the whole thing. That's been sitting there. So he's ordered the start of the construction. They're going to need more money, yes, but that'll have to go through Congress. He's asked Congress to start that. And yes, I know they can get a ladder, climb over it. It's not that simple, because in a prison you can get a ladder and climb over it too. Doesn't mean you're going to make it over. And this whole putting a wall up to secure the border. When you go and get sandbags, because you got a flood coming, and you get sandbags, is that going to stop 100% of the water from coming in?
Nope.
That's going to slow the river down to a trickle.
Honestly, I would be completely 100% satisfied if his wall even had a close rating to a condom, 99.99% effective. Hey, you know what? Saved my ass plenty of times. Yes. Did one sneak through? Yes, it did. She's doing her homework. However, all the rest, and for those of you who think that I might be making that up, I'm actually not. Is it going to stop everything? No, it's not. Okay? I mean, borders have been built throughout history. They're there for a fucking reason. Do they get breached? Yes, they do. But that doesn't mean you don't put it up. I've got a fence around my yard. Does it stop everybody from coming into my yard? No. Does it stop most of them? Yes. And does it make those who might be wondering think twice? Yes, it does. I've seen plenty of people walk up and then walk away. And ironically enough, and I'm not saying immigrants or anything like that, but ironically enough, a lot of door-to-door salesmen, I've watched them. They never hesitate to walk straight up to a house without a fence. If you've got a fence and a gate closed, they don't always hesitate, but sometimes they do. Hey, that's still an effective barrier to me. It's not 100% pure. It's not 100% foolproof, but I've got other means for beyond that if you mean me ill will. And I don't see any problem with that. I mean, Christ, we've had U.S. citizens, we've had ranchers, okay, we've had people that have owned these lands on the border in New Mexico, in Texas, in Arizona, that have been actively fired upon by people running the border.
Not just that, there's cartels that sit up there's sniper cartels that sit in the mountains of Mexico and fire into the United States.
Yeah. There was a case when I was actually in Arizona, and this hit pretty freaking close to me. Guy was literally going out for start up his morning. That's all he was doing. It was like 4 a.m. He's a fucking rancher. He's walking out. Notices a pickup truck tearing ass across his land. Shines a flashlight. They see him. He starts taking rifle fire. Mm-hmm. Ended up shooting his truck up and everything. He said after that day, and it's perfectly legal down there, he just never had the need for it. After that day, carried a ranch gun and a sidearm at all times. And ended up with a lot of volunteer ranch hands to help him out.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing the same thing, and they've gotten killed because they just went out to check their damn mail. An illegal immigrant sees it, and...
Because they think you're going to call. They think that you're going to, turn around and you're going to call the cops on them. You're going to turn them in. You're going to do... Well, yeah, you're breaking the laws. Yeah, you break into my house. You're trespassing on my land. Am I going to call... Yes? I'm sorry, what is wrong with that? Because once you get here and you start renting a house, what are you going to do if I walk onto your, if I start driving my dirt bike across your front lawn? You just going to let me do it?
No, I'm going to take a 2x4.
Front door, are you going to let me do it? No, you're going to defend what's yours. Well, hey, guess what? We're defending what's ours.
Yeah, and it's a radical idea to secure the border. No, it isn't. Nations secure the borders. That's all we're doing.
Go tell that to... Don't say it's a radical idea to build a wall to China. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, not just that. I mean, Obama, during his presidency, we were shipping over millions of dollars in support so that we could help build walls around their country to protect them from Boca Raton.
How many freaking... You know what? Actually, that's a damn good point, Jersey. I didn't even think of that. I mean, we've talked about us sending relief money and money all these other countries, but how many countries have we sent physical supplies, financial support, and armed security, in the case of U.S. military personnel, to secure the borders of different other countries? I mean, Christ, we've been doing it in the Middle East for almost 20 years now. So their borders need to be secured, and we're securing them with U.S. troops, U.S. funding, and U.S. materials. And their stuff deserves to be secured. Why not us? What is so goddamn wrong about us securing ours?
Because if for a minute the Democrats thought they could win more support by securing the border, they would be against the illegals.
They'd be all for it.
Yeah. And it's that they know if they get them in here, they will support them. And I'm tired of following the fucking laws and getting nowhere. And then you have a bunch of people come into this country illegally and they get handed everything. Fuck that. They prove that they're not going to do things by the law.
Here's a true sense of irony now. Okay. Now, I don't know how much of this you're going to agree with, but just a perspective, possibly. I've seen a lot of people that voted Democrat in the previous elections completely went the other way on this one. Not just, for the presidency, but also for locals. I mean, the Republicans won a lot more seats than they've had. They haven't had control over all three branches in generations. Okay? This is the first time in a long-ass time.
Almost 100 years.
Probably since I was going to say,
like
our great-grandfather's time?
98 years, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, so that says something. Now, here's the irony. If you removed that, that whole special interest thing that the Democrats are so fond of, and that's their base for winning everything, and then the Democrats just used, if all they did, that's the only thing that changed, they let go of that, but stuck by the rest of their ideals, I would actually be willing to bet you'd have a lot of left-leaning conservatives actually end up voting for Democrats. Because there are some things that are typically considered the left that I do have agreements with to an extent. Only to an extent, though. But there's way more that I disagree with, which is the reason why I find myself going further and further to the right every single election.
It's the left they've lost their whole way. They have no identity. They have their hands in so many of the cookie jars, so to speak, figuratively. They don't know who they are.
Their identity is for sale.
Yeah.
Their identity is for sale. They are the Democratic Party.
Whatever's the hot topic.
Party, they are a Hollywood. They're a Hollywood character. Yep. They're for sale. That's all there is to them. It's that simple.
That's a good point. And it's whatever the hot topic is. Ouch. New Jersey store owner pleads guilty to $840,000 food stamp fraud scheme. There is so much fraud going on. It's not funny. And then when people talk about it, you're racist. No, there's a lot of fraud. And it isn't just the poor or people abusing by getting. The stores will do it to make a buck. And I've been in stores.
Do it?
Oh, yeah.
It's not, you know what? And the thing's, okay, you know what?
They're the biggest abuser.
Okay, we're picking on, food stamps. So we're picking on the poor. We're picking on low income. Okay, well, hey, guess what? Yeah, do they commit fraud? Yes, they do. But like you said, stores do it. Guess who else also does it? There's plenty of rich, and there's plenty of well-to-do people. There was a big crackdown in my state, I think it was 2 years ago, with the school lunch program. If you are underneath a certain amount, your kids get free lunch. If you're between that amount and another amount, they get a reduced lunch. After that, you have to pay full price. There were people who were either had a connection or were actually involved in the system that were underreporting their incomes so their kids would get free stuff in the school. I mean, these are people that were making
let me jump in real quick. Let me jump in real quick.
Their combined household income is $100,000, and they're getting free food baskets and turkeys for the holidays. Now, those were upper class, white.
How do you think they make that money? They're frugal. I'm being a smart ass on that. But Florida.
Oh, no, I know. I knew where you were going to go with that. That's
now, I don't know if it was a Hillsborough County thing or a Florida thing. They had the in my daughter's school system, the reduced lunch, the free lunch, and you pay. And it got so confusing that they just went, if you make below a certain amount, there's just paid or free. None of this partial. It just got too damn confusing.
I know, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, part of it is it's federally funded for, I don't think it's 100% federally funded, but I think a good portion of it is federally funded. Yeah. And then the state makes up the rest. But the state has a discretion over essentially what
set
is
the
cutoff? Because obviously, New Jersey, our median household income in New Jersey is a hell of a lot different than Alabama. So you couldn't have
Florida, it's different. I mean, it's different than Florida.
They're drastically different, all right? But I know, New Jersey, I want to say there's only 3 levels. It's either you pay full price, you pay a reduced rate, which I think is like 40 cents or 60 cents or some shit like that, or you get it for free. And that's all there is to it. There's 2 different. and now they're instituting a new law, which we don't have time to go over. But there was essentially two different color tickets that you were given. If you had reduced, it was one color. If it was free, it was another color. Other than that, the color was green. You paid with cash. Yeah, and I've got and again, I don't have any problem.
Real quick, you want to talk the other issue that's going on with the school system and for your kids with the lunchings? The identification program?
I don't think we got time for that, but...
hit on it real quick. I'll give you like 2 minutes. Because we do have to move on to sanctuary cities.
Okay, real fast. All right, real fast. Essentially, I got sent home a notice that my children are going to be biometrically scanned. They are going to have their fingerprints taken, electronically, and that's how school entries are now going to get paid for. Instead of them handing in a ticket, they will put their finger on a reader. It'll read their identity, and it'll say which type of lunch they're allowed to, what their fee is, and then they move on. And they're saying that it's not an intrusion of privacy. And the best part, this is the part I absolutely love, the same thing that says they're storing it in a database to match to my kid's identity. They are not storing any of the children's fingerprints because that would be a security risk.
I love that.
You're not literally, this was like 2 sentences apart.
You're not storing the fingerprints, but...
educated guy. Yeah. So we are so broke that they're jacking up my taxes because I can't get new school books for my kid. But we can afford this system that's going to be so secure because, the government has really shown how secure all their systems are. So, it just boggles my mind. Not to mention, there's no parental consent on this. It's not. I'm not being asked. I'm being told my child will be fingerprinted and will have their information stored in a database, in a state database.
My liberal wife even went, no.
Sorry?
No.
No, that's not going to fucking happen. There's nothing wrong with the current system. There's no need for it. This is a blatant overreach. Unfortunately, given the state I live in, it's probably going to go through, regardless of what the hell I've got to say, and regardless of what a lot of other parents have got to say about it.
Yeah, so...
and add that one on to... Oh, here's a new one, real fast. Here's a new one that just came out. One of our illustrious representatives put forth a new state law that he wants to get passed, requiring mandatory screening for drug and alcohol abuse of every single high school student. Mandatory. It's compensatory.
They tried that back when I was in school.
You sit down with a counselor. They go through a questionnaire with you, and if they rate you as being a risk, then you're turned over to the proper healthcare professionals for treatment. And if your parents truly disagree with it, they can opt you out of it. Yeah, because that's not going to put your name on the list. Yeah, it ain't going to go nowhere. That was a complete waste of state money right in that piece of garbage.
I mean, they tried it with the sports. If you wanted to be in this after-school sports program, you're going to have to go for drug testing. Well, that's constitutional. We don't have to allow you in it. Yeah, that didn't go anywhere. We got to move on. We got to move on. Sorry, we got to move on.
I told you this could keep going.
I know. Another thing that Trump did, I want to get to, there's 3 things I want to get through, so we really have to.
You're only going to get 2.
I know. Let's go over the sanctuary cities real quick, because we talked most of the immigration issue. I'm looking at number 1, U.S. Code 1324. Look it up. It is illegal for these politicians to be doing this. Trump has now said if you do not fall in line with federal regulations, you're going to lose federal money. Of course, California, Chicago, they're throwing hissy fits.
Don't leave out my illustrious state. North New Jersey Teachers Association has also taken the exact same stance as California. They make sure to throw them underneath the bus right away.
It's...
Sorry.
Hey, you know what? You want to be a douche like that, you get called out. These sanctuary cities are literally killing people. I want to know when are they going to do a sanctuary cities for bank robbers? I could justify going out and robbing a bank right now. I can justify it.
Honestly,
I want to know, when is my government going to protect me from doing it or for doing it?
We remove the federal funding from those areas. They lose the cash cow that's feeding them.
And
they're
start
going to have to make
charging
some hard decisions. Either take care of your citizens or take care of the illegals, because you're not going to be able to do both.
Well,
And
here's
guess
the
what?
thing.
A lot of your citizens are going to turn around and leave, and you're going to turn into a fucking swamp pit.
There was a poll.
And then those people aren't going to be getting what they want. They're going to start going to other cities, which are not sanctuary cities.
Wow.
And hello.
There's already a mass exit out of, let's pick California. There's a mass exit. There's mass exit out of New Jersey because the taxes, the cost of living are killing people. There's no jobs.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't afford to move out.
There is a poll that was done in California about the sanctuary cities. I don't throw a lot of credence behind polls, but since the liberals love to use them, 74% of Californians want to do away with sanctuary cities.
Yep,
it's the politicians. It's the politicians that want to keep them.
And look at the majority. Look at the areas that want to keep them in California.
Yep.
And look at the majority of who votes.
Yep.
That's exactly. It's nothing but political maneuvering. That's all it is. Honestly, it's very cut and dry. Trump's making it very cut and dry. If you're going to be condoning the breaking of a federal law, you're not going to get federal funding. Simple. Done. Moving on. What's the next topic?
All right. He also cleared the way for the Dakota pipeline and the XL for Canada to reapply for the XL pipeline.
Okay. Now, I don't know a tremendous amount about that one.
Which one?
About the pipeline things, like as far as all the, because it's been going on for quite a while, and I know there's a lot of controversy with a lot of it.
Well, let's start with the Dakota.
But going real simple. All he said is, and I mean everybody's up in arms about this, but all he said was he's allowing them to move forward and to reapply.
Well, that's XL.
And to renegotiate. These aren't necessarily completely 100% done deals.
Dakota was. Dakota was. I don't mean to correct you, but Dakota.
But that's 100% done? Okay.
No, it's not. Wait, let me finish.
I don't know as much.
It only had a small section that they were protesting. That small section just needs to be complete to finish the goddamn pipeline. All permits, everything was approved. Discussions were held for years on end on it. It was not being put into tribal land. The water supply that the tribe in that area was using was moving, I think this month is moving to a different part, so it won't affect their water. The pipeline's going well below the water line. There's pipelines all in that area already, and this is an updated, more secure and safer pipeline being put in. And it was already approved. Everything was good to go. But then all of a sudden, the professional rioters show up. Tribes that didn't show up to conversations start protesting.
Here's something, I just want to throw this in there. It's a little bit off topic, but it does definitely feed into this because of the whole pipeline thing. Everybody's up in arms about the safety of these pipelines, right? And I know in New Jersey they talk about the gas pipeline in Mexico that blew up, killing 5 kids. And I love the fact they have to use a foreign country, a third world country, for this comparison. Nothing in the U.S.
No, that's why we need to start replacing these pipelines.
But here's the funny thing, and we've kind of talked about it before. It's safer. Yeah. Right now, all of this crude, all of this gas, all this oil is getting shipped either by
rail or truck
car, because I can't remember any of those derailing in the past few years and spilling into waterways on the surface. No, that hasn't happened in the past few years, has it?
Death of human life.
Yeah, I mean, come on. The pipeline is actually safer. It's a hell of a lot safer.
Let me interject something real quick.
You want to know what happens with surface water contamination? Why don't you go look at oh shit! I just lost the name
Big
of the
Bird?
city. The one where they mess with the freaking water. And they didn't do it right.
Oh shit!
Now they got
where
contamination.
EPA fucked the water up in what was it, Utah or Arizona, somewhere out the Midwest.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That was off of the drilling operation. No, I'm talking about the one where they swapped the water line, and they didn't do it right, and it's like it was up north, like Michigan or Ohio. Or one of
the
those
EPA
states.
has fucked up so many waterways. It's not funny.
I forgot that was a condemned. They shut down a guy's well drilling. Said, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it safe. We're taking it over. The water had never been polluted until the EPA took control of it. Now, let's also just remember the federal government's also the same place that took over a brothel in Nevada
and ran it down
for not paying taxes, and they managed to bankrupt a business that sold two things: whiskey and pussy. How can you bankrupt that? Seriously.
Well, here's also with the XL pipeline. I don't understand. It is a pipeline that's going to be paid for by Canada. They promised that all supplies, everything to create it, will be done and made in the United States of America. All employment will be U.S. citizens. Once it's completed, it will be replacing an older line.
Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
It is, I think, a double or triple. I can't remember if it was double or triple pipe, which means that there's a pipe inside a pipe. So if the pipe ruptures, they'll know immediately that there's a leak. But where does it leak to? The inside of another pipe.
Another pipe.
Wow. Simple idea right there. Just like the double-hulled ships. And once it's all completed,
one exception, those will work very well. And there was that whole Titanic situation.
Well,
but,
they didn't have a double hull.
They all worked pretty well.
They didn't have a double hull. But once the pipeline's done, they keep saying, well, then Canada's going to make all this money and we ain't going to make nothing. That's bullshit because we're going to get a percentage of the oil that's flowing through it.
They're flowing it through the pipeline to U.S. refineries.
But then from there it gets shipped out. Well, I've heard it gets shipped out. Some say it will be used in the United States and Canada. If the United States and Canada were smart enough, we have enough fucking oil underneath of us. We could supply ourselves and still export. And stop being dependent on Saudi oil.
It's already been proven. We actually, I think you and I have talked about this previously. The wells that have gone dry
or refilled,
they're not all dry anymore. Some of them are completely refilled, which that's a hell of a lot of oil right there. There's a whole area in the Midwest, North Midwest, that is said to have one of the largest oil reserves. But we've got a 100% moratorium on ever drilling for it. Obama just did a whole moratorium on drilling in the Atlantic Ocean. We know there's a crap load of oil down there. There is more than enough oil reserves that could be accessed in the United States to support the United States fossil fuel consumption. It's been proven.
Even without expanding.
There. Okay?
Even without expanding, we have enough oil that we can...
The problem is we made these deals were made when, before we knew all this, we thought, a well goes dry, it goes dry. I mean, that's how we understood it. Made these deals overseas. We made OPEC. OPEC got generated. Now, they've been running the freaking market. They want to maintain control of that market. OPEC is not run by elected politicians and officials. It is run by businessmen. It is run by billionaires. And they want to keep their freaking money. They want to keep their goddamn power. And they want to keep their goddamn influence. They have zero interest in letting anybody out of that system. And a good portion of the people that are tied into that are in our current political establishment. They don't want out of it because, hey, guess what? Guess where their retirement fund's at? Guess where they're getting jobs when they leave? Consultants.
Yep.
They're getting stock dividends. I mean, that's where their money's at, too. They're looking out for themselves. They're not looking out for us. And it's complete and utter BS. Now, I'm not talking about destroying the country. I'm not talking about destroying nature. I'm not talking about destroying the environment or anything else.
There can be a happy medium between drilling for oil and environmental.
There is a balance that can be reached. And in all honesty, they want to keep pushing this whole freaking global crap. And I'll tell you what, I'll agree that the U.S. should reduce carbon monoxide output right after China cuts theirs by at least 50%, because we are a fraction of what they put out. We've got U.S. citizens that are sick from chemicals that we haven't used in this country in decades. But China still uses it.
Why are most of the jobs going overseas? It has nothing to do, boys and girls, really with labor force. It has to deal with the cost of energy here in the United States. Oh, God, is it costly. China, pennies on a dollar. That's why jobs go over there. Because
it cost me over $700 last month to heat my fucking house. Now, yes, it is drafty. I do have some repairs that I do need to do on insulation. However, $700 on my middle ass house. You've been to my house. You know how small my house is. $700 to heat it. Are you freaking kidding me? I'm taking out a goddamn loan to pay my fucking electric bill? And you're going to tell me to not be interested in cheaper energy?
And alternate energy is not the answer to everything. I get tired of that one. That is, the technology is not there yet. I think it was you that I talked to a friend of mine, and they dealt with a solar energy company that put solar panels on house. And what people don't understand is they never pay for themselves because they have to be replaced so often, number one.
Hold on. I know who you're talking about. You might not want to trust the information you got from that guy, because I have to know firsthand he's an asshole. He really is an asshole. I'm just saying. Keep going.
Another point that they don't realize, I mean, the cost, they're expensive. And they need to be replaced every I think it's like every 5 to 10 years they have to be replaced. So you haven't even...
You're getting that out of it, you're good.
Right, but you haven't even paid them off. But the other part that they're not looking at is you have unexpectedly a fire in your house. Kiss your fucking house goodbye. Because most firefighters for a house fire need to get on the roof to do ventilation. Guess what? They can't get on the roof because there's a trip hazard. Oh, can't put water on the house. Why? Because there's electricity still flowing through those goddamn cells.
It's not even the thing is, it's not even entirely the trip hazard, because I deal with that at my shop. We've got solar power.
Oh, I've talked to chiefs, and they won't let them up there because there's a trip hazard.
No, that's part of it.
Yeah. And the electricity's still flowing.
But that's the other part of it, because I deal with it. I sat on, this was years ago when I was a consultant, I sat in a town committee room on a board representing local fire departments over a solar field and house solar that was trying to be brought in. And that the trip hazard was one of them, but it's the disconnects. You're dealing with photovoltaic cells. Okay, these are generating electricity based on the sun. Now, if it's a nighttime fire, not nearly as much risk. You're not generating.
But they still do hold a charge.
They do hold a charge, okay? And if it is a full moon, they can still generate some charge. It is low, but it is still there.
Yeah.
Right in middle of the day, they are flowing electricity. Now, yes, we put disconnects in. Yeah, I've been involved with some of this stuff. We put in disconnects. We do all this stuff. I dealt with an orientation with my local fire department at my shop, because we've got them, and I have to show them. They have to throw that. I mean, before they can even stretch a fucking line, it takes them almost 5 minutes to isolate our two electrical systems. 5 minutes of them not even fighting a fucking fire, because they're throwing disconnect switches to make the environment safer. Not completely safe. It's still more hazardous than it was 5 years ago.
To make those photo cells is not exactly environmentally sound either. Another one I heard is about the car. I was saying to make the solar panels is not exactly environmentally friendly.
Well, see, honestly, one of my biggest things, the photovoltaic cells, I'm split on it. Number one, do I think the technology is there? Yes, I do. Do I think it's technology that we're accessing right now? No, I do not. I think it is there, and I think it's held up in some patent office because somebody doesn't want to let it out.
I like
the electric car. I saw the
windmills better.
I saw an electric car at a car show in the early 90s, and then all of a sudden it never showed up again for like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Never really heard about them.
Well, what
technology's
kind of
been getting
batteries are
developed.
in those cars, in the modern cars? What kind of batteries are they using in those modern cars?
You talking about the electric cars?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Lithium.
Okay, thank you.
Have you ever seen a
Sorry,
lithium
massive brain fart.
mine and what it does to the environment to make those batteries?
No, but I've seen a lithium fire in a chemistry lab.
Yep.
That's not fun.
No. And the mines are major destructive. These alternative energy, the only one that has any positive, but then it has an environmental impact are the windmills. I like this. And I love these cities that put them in. The government pushes you to put them in, and then you put them in, and the birds fly into it, and you get fined because some dumb bird flew into your windmill, and you're held responsible for the action.
The one I like better than that is when you shut one down for maintenance and a bird makes a nest in it, and then all of a sudden you can never use that again because they go back to their original nest every year.
Yeah.
Gotten love that. That's the one I really love.
But I would love to put
Again,
a windmill in my yard. I can't. My HOA would throw a hissy
biggest
fit.
problem with them is that, honestly, my biggest problem with them is the eyesore.
Yeah, but you can do things to make them look
across
nice.
the street, yeah, no, I know. It's just like I said. To me, but then again, it's. I mean, actually, now that I said that, if I saw one at my neighbor's house right across the street, I'd probably be looking at it going, "You're an asshole."
I want one.
However, if you know what, if every other house on the street ended up buying into that, then it just becomes a natural part of the thing. Hey, guess what? Where did we get our power before? Oh, yeah, windmills and water mills. Yeah, that's how we used to, do industry before the Industrial Revolution.
I know.
Come on.
Yeah, but then there
It's
was a
not
major
that we've been
discussion
doing.
at my parents' house. This environmental
Hold on.
impact and the global warming.
Hold on.
Bullshit.
Hold on.
Bullshit.
Hold on. God damn it.
I'm
Hold
calling
on.
bullshit.
I wanna-
Shenanigans.
I want to stay on the electric car thing for 1 second here, just because I love making this point. You're all about protecting the environment. You want your electric car because, hey, you're not burning gas. You're saving the environment. How do you charge that car? I plug it into my house. And where does your electricity from your house come from? It comes from the coal plant up the road. And they still have this grin on their face like, they're better than you. It's like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, seriously? You don't see the irony here. Your electric bill is going up because you're using more electricity, meaning they're burning more coal or more gas to provide you the electricity so you can feel good about yourself driving to work. Okay.
I can drive a whole 50 miles before I have to stop for an hour or two to charge my car up.
Okay. All right. The only electrically powered vehicle that I will say was environmentally friendly and does not fall into that stigma of I had to plug it in at my house. God, I haven't seen one of these in a long-ass time. Remember those pedal mopeds?
Yes.
Where you would pedal them for manual power, and it would also charge an internal battery, and then you would get 15 minutes of it actually driving.
15 minutes, 15 steps. Pedal it for 2 miles, get 15 steps. Pedal it for 2 miles.
I got the biggest kick out of those fucking things. But anyway, okay, what's the next one? We've got to be getting close to the end of this.
Oh, we are. We got 2 minutes. The friggin' liberals are having aneurysm with this not even first week of Trump presidency. I mean, the first day he takes down the White House global warming page. He enforces our immigration law. He starts building a wall. He's going to start deporting illegals. What else did he sign? I mean, their heads, they got to be having aneurysms left, right, and centers. center.
Oh, they can't hire any more. They can't hire any more staff. He put a freeze on.
Oh yeah,
hiring
except
other
for
than
military and border security. In fact, he wrote a memorandum to hire like 10,000 more. He's out to shrink the government, and I love it.
The funny, actually, real quick, I know we're almost out of time, but there was one thing, and I thought it was really funny. They're cussing and they're yelling and they're screaming. There was two things. One was the FHA loan thing.
Oh.
They were saying how now nobody can get a house if they're if they're not making enough money and all the rest of the stuff. Now, what they're failing to realize is that the plan that he removed was literally just signed by Obama, hadn't even gone into effect yet.
Well, also, it's not uncommon for a new president to walk in and say, stop everything. I want to take a look at what's going on. Let's get a...
No, I know. But the fact of the matter is that everybody's yelling and screaming about something they're saying is affecting all these people. It never affected anybody because it didn't physically actually exist. It wasn't actually going to go into effect for I think until next week or the end of this week.
I got to interrupt because we are almost out of time.
And the other thing.
Oh my God.
The other thing. What?
Well, we're almost out of time, and I got to bring up this one last thing because this is just too funny. Keith Olbermann, idiot's been fired from ESPN and everything. He writes for GQ magazine's The Resistance, and he says it's time for Donald Trump to resign as president. It's been an interesting couple of days, but for any patriotic American capable of adding 2 and 2 and not getting 1.5 million, this is enough. Because there's a supposed running war with the media. You mean the media that is... oh, my God.
I can't even...
He's not taking the bully tactics of the left. He's not taking the bully tactics of the media.
No, he's not.
He's fighting back, so they're going to throw a hissy fit. And then they wonder why they're losing. All right, you got 1 minute.
No, the only thing I was going to bring up was everybody's upset about the whole, he's there's not going to be enough money, because he cut back spending on everything else. What they're failing to mention is that most of, if not all of that he is cutting out of the budget right now isn't actually from any existing program. It's from the discretionary fund that was set up so that D.C. could pick and choose who to send money to and what programs to support, but it was at the whims of whoever was in charge of those areas. So it was never actually voted on spending. It was essentially just saying, okay, your department's got $10 billion, spend it on whatever you want. It can be to buy 5 bicycles or, to help feed the poor. It doesn't matter to us, but you get $10 billion a year. That's what he's cutting out, is that discretionary spending. He's saying, if you want money, if we're going to be signing off on more debt, I want to know where the hell that money's going.
Yeah.
Give me a proposal.
He's a businessman. He looks at business.
That's what he's doing. What is the problem with that? What is the problem with checks and balances? That's the funny thing. Is he's actually instituting checks and balances that haven't existed for 8 years, and they're going nuts saying that there's not going to be any more checks and balances.
I know. That's all the time there is, unfortunately.
Special kind of stupid.
Yeah. You've been listening to the Southside Mutts Show with the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, and we'll see you next week, and I'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. for the Reverb Common Sense Show. All right, have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
You've been listening to the Reverb Common Sense with its host, Jersey Joe. You can tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on hppundit.com and shrmedia.com.